Hello there, this is Christos Vougeris from Agodea. Unfortunately, due to the quarantine, the rest of the band couldn't be here, so you're kind of stuck with me now. First of all, I want to thank on behalf of Agodea, Antichrist magazine for this interview, and to wish all of you and your loved ones good health and strength during this time of crisis. Agodea, or in Greek Agodea, is a melodic death metal band from Greece. We were formed in Athens in July of 2017, and in our music we combine mainly melodic death metal with elements from various metal genres, Greek traditional and Western classical music. In December of 2017 we released our first demo. In late summer of 2018 we began the process of making Of Stars and Madmen, our first full-length album, and alongside that in 2019 we gave our first couple of gigs. On February 5th, 2020 we released Of Stars and Madmen both in digital and physical form as a CD, and it's available on Bandcamp and all the major streaming platforms like Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, etc. On our YouTube channel, of course, and if you like it and want to buy it, you can do it also by ordering it through our social media profiles in Facebook and Instagram. Due to problems with our lineup, we had to make some adjustments through the years. Our basic lineup consists of 3 members. I and Chris Vasalos are on the guitars, and Stelis Katrakis is on the drums. When it comes to our live performances, 2 friends of ours, Nikolas Zoukopoulos and George Vasalos from a band called Message in a Cloud, come to our aid as a session bassist and lead vocalist respectively. When we were searching for a name, we wanted for it to be one word and at least in part to be of Greek origin. So we, after many ideas, we decided that we wanted to be called Agodea. Agodea, the name comes from a combination of 2 Greek words. The first one is agos, which depending on its intonation, it means on one hand something sacrilegious, a sacrilegious act that brings the wrath of the gods, and on the other hand means something sacred, something to be praised, something even pious. The second part of our name comes from the word odi, which in English is translated into ode, for example, ode to joy, and it's an ancient and modern Greek word for a type of song. So the whole combination together means, the 2 words together mean a song for something sacrilegious yet sacred in some sense. Well, getting fat mostly. Joking aside, I try to work out, I try to practice more both the electric and classical guitar. I try to write new material for the second album. And in my spare time I play video games, I watch TV series and movies, I read books, the usual stuff. I was unemployed and still am, so nothing really changed in my day-to-day life. I think Stelios is working his regular hours due to the nature of his job, and Chris is working from home. Greece is doing quite well actually, which is a surprise given our record sometimes. Our government was quick to act and took several measures to prevent the massive spreading of COVID-19 to the community. Most of the population is staying at home and following the rules and the instructions of the scientists. Of course, our healthcare system is under a lot of pressure, as it is to be expected in situations like this. But our death rate is low, our number of confirmed cases is low, especially in comparison with other countries. Personally, I think that here in Greece we were quite lucky, because COVID-19 hit first Spain, countries like Spain and Italy, and we had more time to prepare and to get informed. So basically we learned from the tragedy of others. In general now, I think that no matter how ominous the things seem, it could have been much worse, the whole thing, the whole pandemic. So we have to be more optimistic, and because the whole scientific community all around the globe is working day and night to not only to develop a vaccine, but more effective drugs to fight the virus, and new technologies to detect it and to protect us from it. So it's gonna be okay, even though there are still many difficult days in front of us, even if we consider the possible economic crisis and things like that. Stars and Madmen, as I have already mentioned, is our first full-length album. It was co-produced by Agodea and Marcus Amaras of Wood Sound Studios here in Athens, and mixed and mastered by Marcus Amaras also. Due to our problems with our lineup, Nicolas Lukopoulos came once more to our aid and performed the bass guitar on this record. I had to perform the lead vocals, even though I'm not the singer. I'm the songwriter. I knew all the lyrics, I knew all the parts, so we decided as a band that it would be better for me to perform the vocals instead of bringing in a session vocalist or waiting for the right voice to arrive, which could take another 2 years. Musically, Stars and Madmen engulfs everything that we love in our favorite bands. It has strong roots in the 90s, an era where many of our favorite bands released their best work. It pays tribute to several bands in genres from heavy metal even to black metal, and we think that brings something quite new and refreshing to the ears of the metal listener. Our combination of Greek traditional and melodic death metal in our case is something quite new, I think. We're one of the few bands that does it. We might be the first one to do it with melodic death metal, and I think Agodea is the first one to do it with black. So if you are interested in something similar, check them out. Despite all the difficulties and the obstacles we had to face and to overcome, and all the compromises we had to make in order to finish of Stars and Madmen, the end result was quite fulfilling. It surpassed all of our expectations, and we are quite happy with it. We are elated with it. We had very good feedback, even from strangers, and we think it is a very solid step towards whatever the future has in store for us. I hope you like it. Stars and Madmen, lyrically as well as musically for that fact, does not have a main theme that guides it forward. It's not a thematic record. It has two themes that connect in some parts the songs together, but in general each song has its own story to tell. These two themes, the first one would be describing some aspects of the human existence from a more personal point of view. And the second one would be contemplating on the relationship between man and nature, but nature meant in a more ontological and cosmological sense, not just trees and animals in a eco-friendly manifesto way. Let's break down a bit the record. First track is Aeas. It tells the tragic story of Aeas, or better known as Ajax, the great warrior from Homer's Iliad. It has also some references to the tragedy of the same name by Sophocles. Second track is Through the Curse to the Blessing. It's a song about discovering a way to experience a deeper and purer unity with yourself and nature and cosmos, and all of that is perceived through the lens of the philosophy of Heraclitus, who was an ancient Greek philosopher from Ephesus of the pre-Socratic era. Track number 3 of Stars and Madmen, the title track, my favorite track maybe. The lyrics point out the similarities between a man descending into madness and the death of a star, the similarities between the fates of these two entities. I thought it would be quite interesting to talk about that subject, especially in that manner, and so I wanted to do something similar with the music, and thus I used Ekalamatianos to accompany most of the lyrics. Ekalamatianos is one of the main, most popular or well-recognized Greek traditional dances and rhythms, and I think that the combination of the music and that particular rhythm is something quite special. I think it's the first time that it's done in that way in metal. Track number 4 is As Atlas Crumbles. There are two ideas behind this song. The first one is to do something similar with what Albert Camus did in his novel The Myth of Sisyphus, where he compares the human condition with that of Sisyphus, and in a similar manner I compared in the song the human condition or humanity's civilization with the myth of Atlas, who was one of the titans who lost the gods, the war against the Olympian gods, and was punished to hold the whole world upon his shoulders. The second idea behind As Atlas Crumbles is to do a chronicle or a narrative at least of how the thought of in the West developed, how the quest of for meaning in the West progressed through the eons. It starts off with classical antiquity, then Christianity, Middle Ages, scientific revolution, the Enlightenment, the death of God, and the post-truth era that we live now, and in the end raises some questions about if we are able, as Atlas is able to hold the weight of the world on his shoulders, if we are able to hold the weight of all that we have created in our quest for meaning through the eons. Track number 5 is On a Bed of Leaves. It's a song about coming of age and creating or discovering yourself. It's a song about maturing and the cost that this has sometimes, and it's partly influenced by the beautiful novel of Hermann Hesse entitled Steppenwolf, from which I borrowed the entity of the wolf to use as a symbol in my lyrics. Track number 6, it's Hymn to a Night Storm. It's a special track for the band. It was the first one. It was written for Agodea, and the first one we worked as a whole, as a band. It is the one song in comparison to others with the strongest ties to reality. It describes a storm that happened 1 week before I had to depart from the city of Ioannina in Epirus. And the city of Ioannina is like the London of Greece. It rains all the time. So a storm, it's not something extraordinary or new. But that particular storm, it was the most violent I have ever experienced, both in my years in the city or in my life in general. And in that particular time, it was like a farewell gift to me. So I remember looking up at the skies, at the blazing skies, and thinking that I have to write a song about it and to seal it, to make it a memory forever. And that's how the lyrics came to be. So I wanted to pay tribute also to Epirus and the music of Epirus, and I used Pogonisios theme or reference or structure in the middle section of the song. Pogonisios is the main dance and musical form of the traditional music of Epirus. So that's about the lyrics of the album. All of the album art was done by the gifted Lenia Platania, an upcoming painter from Athens. You should check out her work, it's amazing. It's an original piece, it's that beauty over there on the wall. Very proud about it. We wanted a painting that makes reference to the romantic tradition, but it has one foot, let's say, to our time. We wanted a work of art that within it will lie the hard work and time of the artist, and not just another digitally manipulated image or digitally produced cover art that it will be done in an evening, and that's it. We want some history to lie within the work of art itself. The idea behind this painting came from an image I had in my mind about a man experience upon a hilltop staring at the starry sky and the galaxy, and experiencing a moment of ultimate self-awareness and the deepest connection with himself and the cosmos, yet at the same time being completely lost within himself and being on the edge between this fine edge between total clarity and borderline insanity. The whole painting expresses a bit of the theme contemplating about the relationship between man and nature, as it is in the music, in the songs. We are quite pleased with the end result. I think that Lenya captured magnificently and beautifully the whole vibe that we wanted for our record, and the album art consists. It might be one of the strongest aspects of the record, because it is so on point and so vibrant with colors and melodies, let's say. So we are quite happy and grateful for that beauty. Of course, having a label deal, it's important, even in our days. But its importance depends solely on your goals and dreams, let's say. For example, if you shoot for the top and want to become as famous and rich as possible, having a label deal is of vital importance. If you want to remain a more underground act and an independent artist, a label will not be always of use to you. For example, promotion in our day, it's quite easy. It can be done quite easily and efficiently by anyone with access to some social media and streaming platforms. So, in that sense, a label is obsolete. But I think it still does matter to have a label, not only for the prestige, but for many services. It has its pros and cons always, but I think it's still important. We at Agodea want to get bigger as a band, want to make a name for ourselves, but only through earning the respect of our audience, and rightfully so, with our work, with our good music, not through making the right marketing decisions only, or for example, buying a good promotion package, etc. We want to, first of all, our priority is our art before anything else. So, in case you are from a label and watching this video, don't hesitate to contact us. Anyway. Actually, one of our shows got cancelled. We were to have a release show for Obsession Madmen on April 5th with two bands from Athens, Agodea and Eldingar as our special guests, but it got cancelled and we don't have anything planned, at least for now. We are waiting to see how the things will go. I don't think that we had any extraordinary moments on stage yet, although the feedback was quite good from our live performances. Neither did we have, fortunately, any epic fails on stage. However, in our first gig, we had terrible sound. We couldn't hear anything, neither could our audience, or at least much of our music was lost to their ears. Fortunately, despite the terrible sound, we managed to perform quite well, and we made quite good first impression, I think. Two albums come in mind. The first one is The Smokeless Fires by a band called Lunar Shadow. It's a heavy metal album released in 2019, and I like it very much because first of all, it has some great riffs, especially two songs, Catch Fire, and the other one is the Hawk on the Hills, or something like that. Masterpieces. The second album is by a Greek band. It's from band Agodea. It's called Nostos. It was released on February 2020, and it's a compilation of covers or rearrangements of Greek traditional songs, combined beautifully with the black metal aesthetic, of the band. Agodea is one of my favorite bands and does what I love and what I try to do with Agodea. So it's only logical to love also Nostos. No matter how uncertain the future is, even in times like this, our plans and goals remain the same. Especially for me as a songwriter, I always try to explore new ideas and write new material for the band. So business as usual. About our concerts now, we will try to do as many gigs as possible, hopefully in and out of Athens and in and out of Greece someday soon. But this will happen only when the time is right, and when we are sure about the safety of the health of the band and our audience. Otherwise, we will not proceed in any live performances. It would be quite reckless if we do. So a new album is already at work. I have already written 2 songs for it. Hopefully it will be released in about 2 years, and we'll see what comes next. At this point, I want to thank on behalf of Agodea once more Antichrist magazine for this interview and everyone who watched this video. I want to thank Marcos Samaras for all his hard work on our record and his patience. I want to thank Nicolas Zukopoulos and George Vassalos for being there for us when we needed it, and all 3 of them for the friendship that goes beyond the professional level. Last but not least, I want to thank Lenia Platania for creating a work of such a unique beauty to accompany our hard work and dreams. So thank you all, and goodbye.